go out anymore. We sit in the house, and slowly the world we're living in is getting smaller, and all we say is, please, at least leave us alone in our living rooms. Never say anything, just leave us alone. Well, I'm not gonna leave you alone. I want you to get mad. Got to get mad. You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it. My life has value.
And here we go.
All right. Good morning. Good morning. Um, Thank you very much for joining us. I have Miss Shantelle with us. She's in the U.S. I think it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon where she is, and she'll be sharing. She'll be sharing with us something that I believe something very important that we get discussed, especially during this time. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, in our country, based on what I got earlier, 1 in 6 women have experienced at least physical or sexual violence by a current or, let's say, former partner, while men it is in 1 in 16. And and as if I'm not mistaken, this was just made recently. There's a company that ran an analysis of posts on Facebook, also reports, police reports, and what they've gathered from the periods of September 2019 to November 2020. It covered about 20.5 million unique searches and 3,500 keywords on violence against women. And tonight we have an opportunity to speak to someone who has personal experience, and this will be a wild ride because hopefully she'll be giving us some details about her personal experience and what she went through. And without further taking time, I present you Chantel. And just as a brief introduction, take it away.
Hi, everyone. My name is Shantelle Moses, and I live in Arizona, and I've been here since 2000. And so I just would like to share with you my journey of just being in a domestic violence situation. And so I'm on this show today to share my story and hopefully encourage those who's out there going through it, whether you're a man or a female. I support both, and abuse to where you shouldn't be going through it at all, and children. And so hopefully my story will shed light onto to help you in your situation, and hopefully you can find a place where you can go get help and talk to others about it to where they can help you as well, because I didn't do that. So um, sharing my story, grew up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and my mom, she was a single mom for a moment. She ended up getting married, but didn't last long. So she's pretty much just was a single mom. And me, I've never seen my mom get abused, but while she was married, she did experience that her husband was cheating on her. And just me being at the age about maybe 11 or 12 years old, that was hurtful in my eyes to see my mom go through that, because she would just cry. And I remember telling myself how I never wanted to go through that. So looking back at that now, I'm looking at how I wanted to share myself from pain, because that's what my mom was going through. And so just growing up with my mom being single, and as I got into a relationship in high school, I met my boyfriend at, and wasn't my first boyfriend, but about my second boyfriend. And we was high school lovers, and we was in a relationship for about 2 years. And always in the beginning is good. And no issues. It's lovey dovey. You kissing on each other. But then as the months go by, you start to see a little jealousy in that person, but you just blow it off because being at the age I was 19 and he was 17. So I had him by 2 years. And so, yes, I was a little mature than him in that area, but I ended up getting pregnant by him at the age of 19. And throughout my pregnancy, he started the abuse, whether it was hitting on me, lashing out at me. It's times he would call me up on the phone and he would accuse me of just cheating on him. And I'm trying to figure out where's this coming from because I'm pregnant and there's no way I'm cheating on you when I'm pregnant. So it just a lot of the stuff was coming out of this person. And with me being the age that I am at 19, I can say now at the age of 48, I was very naive. And in that atmosphere of I'm in love with this person and still he could do no wrong in my eyes, even though what he was doing to me was wrong. And so by the time that I was pregnant and I ended up having our son, the abuse got worse. And it was to the point to where he would abuse me in front of our son and hit me in front of him. And at that time, I didn't tell anyone. I was scared. I was embarrassed to even bring up that I was allowing something like that to happen to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, at the age of 19, very naive and scared at the same time. And so this story, this is a long story. So just to make the story short, my son, he was about 9 months old. And I remember to this day, actually next month is Valentine's Day. And next month, yeah, I I couldn't even tell you how many years it's been since it happened to me. But it was like 3 days before Valentine's Day, and my son was 9 months old. And I remember going out with my friends and just hanging out at the mall. And my boyfriend and my friend boyfriend were best friends, and they were in the gang. I didn't know it at the time, but they were in the gang and they hung out together. And so we hung out at the mall that day, and we ended up meeting a couple of her friends, male friends, at the mall who she knew, and she introduced them to me. And so we ended up going home later that evening. She called me up that evening and asked me if she found a way for me to come over to her house, would I come over? And I said, well, I need to find a babysitter, for my son. I'll let you know. So at the time, my niece was living with me and my mom. And so I asked her if she can babysit my son. And for a couple hours, she said yes. So who showed up to my house was those two guys that we met at the mall. They think none of it. So I went out to the car and I was reaching for the back door to sit in the back seat. And his friend was like, no, sit in the front seat. I was like, no, I'm sitting in the back seat. Because in my mind, I have a boyfriend and I didn't want no
Yeah.
issues. I didn't want to lead nobody
Mm.
on. So I wanted to sit in the
Mhm,
back seat.
mm.
But he insisted that I sit in the front seat. So we sitting in the front seat and he just started talking to me. I was like, hey, I have a boyfriend. Your job is to drop me off, and that's it. And so
Yeah.
back then, this was back in 1992. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
92 or 93.
92.
And back then, pagers was a big thing. So I remember having a pink pager. We didn't have cell phones back then. No, I didn't, but pagers. So my friend, she started paging me while I was on my way to her house. And I'm trying to
Uh-huh.
figure out,
Uh,
well, why is she paging me if I'm on her way? So whatever it is, she can tell me.
yeah.
So by the time we turn it down her street, I see my boyfriend and her boyfriend walking up the street. So I ended up telling the
Mhm.
driver, hey, there go my boyfriend. You can let me out here. And
Uh-huh.
so he let me out. I ran up to my boyfriend, and everything happened so fast. And I'm going to tell it to you just how it happens. All of a sudden, he said, who is that guy? And I was like, I don't know. I just met him today. Next thing you know, I'm in a headlock. Something pointed to my face. Next thing you
Mhm.
know, my ears start ringing. Voices started to get real faint. I couldn't breathe and I couldn't swallow. And I'm like, what just happened? And next thing you know, they rushing me in the car and I'm laying on his lap. And all I hear his friends saying, dude, what did you do? Why did you
Mhm.
do that? He
And that
shot
was
me in
it.
the face.
Oh my
He shot me in my
God.
face. I didn't know that. And all I can feel is that I'm laying on his lap, gasping
Mhm.
for
Mhm.
air, trying to breathe and breathe. And they drove me to the hospital. And all I can remember was going back there with a bunch of nurses and doctors, tearing off my clothes. They cutting off my clothes. There's blood all
Mhm.
over. And all I can
Mhm.
say to the nurse was, am I going to die? And she took my hand. She looked at me. She said, no, you're not. And from that moment on, I closed my eyes and I went to sleep. And I woke up in the ICU. And I'm
Wow.
sharing this story because years ago, I was not able to share this story. I was embarrassed about it and was too scared to tell other people about my story. But as I got older, I realized that God had a purpose for me. And that purpose was for Him to keep me alive, for me to share this story with other men and women, with children, to encourage them, to empower them, to let them know that there's help out there.
True. Mm.
And hopefully, you have someone in your corner that you can talk to and share this with them and find a safe haven place to go to.
Yeah. Yeah.
So find out wherever you live at, look up in your local places, look for safe haven places for domestic violence victims.
Mm.
They have them. It may not be a lot, but they have them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that,
Mhm.
go ahead.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I was just uh I, I'm just taking. I know we've had this conversation about what happened.
Right.
I'm still like caught. I'm still caught in a daze whenever I hear this story, and I just want to like walk back a little just so we have other people also know that you are actually doing this as an outreach. I think this is what you feel as your calling, and you've
Advocate.
been
Yes.
speaking. Yeah, this is your advocacy. You've been
Yes.
speaking in speaking engagements, right? Is that correct?
Yes. Yes. Multiple speaking engagements, and um, they've been phenomenal. And a lot of men and women, come out and because they dealing with it or they know someone who's dealing with it. And I remember at one of my speaking engagements, it was at a church function. It was a women's
Hmm.
expo for a church. And it
Hmm.
was a panel of like 5 or 6 of us up there, and we were sharing our story. And I remember sharing this story with with the people in the audience. And once I got done sharing my story, and one lady walked up to me and she just started crying because she said that she's going through that exact same thing at that moment with her boyfriend abuse.
Man. Man.
And no, I just went down there and I gave her a hug, and all I can just tell her is to try to get help and do it
Yeah.
safely. I can't
Mhm.
express that enough, is to do it safely. I can't I can tell you how I did it, but how I did it may not be the same way that you need to do it. I will never just tell
Very
someone you
true.
just need to leave. You need to
Very true.
plan and plan it safely.
Very true.
And
Yeah. those are the things actually that I would like to have you share with us. One of the few things I think, since you, as you mentioned earlier when you were telling your story, that
Hmm.
you were ashamed, you were embarrassed, that
Hmm.
this was happening to you, and I think you're not alone in this situation. A lot of women I've spoken with, a lot of people that I came across with, especially in the past when I was still doing counseling. I was still studying then. Most of them share the same thoughts. They say that they feel embarrassed. Could you like explain to us why this, like, why do you get this feeling, or where is this coming from? Like, you're a victim, and you're not supposed to feel embarrassed. You're supposed to be, in a way, you should feel that you need to get out, you need to get away, you should ask help. But how come it's overpowered by this sense of shame?
I think the embarrassment comes from because you don't know that anybody else is going through what you're dealing with. And so for you to say that, they may look at you and judge you. So I think for me, that was my issue. I didn't want to be judged by being with someone who's abusing me and be
Mhm,
called
mhm,
stupid and, what's wrong with you? You should get out that relationship. Why you with someone who's like that? You stupid. You an
exactly,
idiot. So
exactly.
I
Yeah,
think that's where the shame that came from me, from my
uh,
experience. I
uh,
didn't want to let anyone know
I
what I
see.
was going through. So I didn't want to
uh,
be called that. But actually, I felt that's what it was. But, me being 19, I'm 48
yeah.
now, so I can look back at that. I was like, man, Chantel, you're really stupid to allow somebody to treat you like that. But, I didn't know my self worth, and no one
Very
talked
true,
to me
very true.
about my self worth and how precious I
Mhm,
am and how a treasure I am. So I
exactly.
started to get in the Word of God, and the Word of God started telling me how special I am, how treasure I am to God. So why would I let
Mhm,
somebody treat me like that? And
mhm.
I realized my self worth just by the Word of God. And I speak it every day. I pray every day. And I pray for all of those who are going through what I'm dealing with. Is for me, I have to get in the Word of God to get me to where I'm at now. And a lot of people, I would tell people I got shot in my face, and they would look at me and go, "Well, where at in your face? Because you beautiful. You have a beautiful face." And I'm like, "Oh, thank
I couldn't
you."
tell. I couldn't
Yeah,
tell.
I'm like, well,
Mhm.
God can't have me up there standing up there looking all crazy at you, so He had to keep me beautiful. But yeah, it's on the side. It's on the side here, right by my ear, and I like to wear big dangly earrings because it covers up the
Oh,
scar.
there's still a scar. I see. I
It's a
see.
yeah,
Yeah.
well, here's the kicker. A lot of people don't know. The bullet is in my mandible, and it's been in my mandible since I was 19 years old. It's lodged in my jawbone, and so
Whoa.
the doctors told me, and this is a true story. They told me, he said, if I get the bullet out, I would have to cut your face from one side to the other side. And he
Oh
said,
my
you
God.
have a beautiful face, and I don't want to mess your face up like that. So they ended
True.
up leaving the bullet lodged in my mandible, which that's where it's at now to this day. And I'm 48. And the bullet been there since I was 19 years old. And so after that, I would go get like lead poison shots just to make sure that no
I
lead is
see. I
leaking.
see.
And
I see.
it's times I still have fear that the bullet is going to move. Because,
Hmm.
you get
Hmm.
older, your bones start to
Yeah.
deteriorate and things start to
Yeah.
shift and move. So every year I would go and get x-rays of the bullet just to make sure to see if it's still where it's supposed to be at, if it haven't
Hmm.
shifted. Because I
Hmm.
deal with nerve damage a lot. So the bullet
Oh,
did some nerve damage, but I had no surgery, none, no surgery at all, none. But
miracles
that's
happen.
God. That's just God.
I
Amen. Thank
know.
you,
I know.
Jesus. Yes, yes. So all glory to God. I tell you that. So when I stand up here and I can smile, because God gave me this beautiful face to smile. And I've been through a lot in relationships with men. So I have some experience and
Mhm.
just dealing with just being in domestic violence situations. And luckily now that he's in prison now, but not because of I put him there, but because what he did in his next relationship, which when I say, you know, I thank God for saving me, but I do pray for the family that the daughter that he did take from them. And
Uh-huh.
I send my
Yeah.
condolences to them. And but he ended up taking his next girlfriend life. He shot her in the head.
Oh, yeah, yeah. We were
So
talking about that
yeah.
a few days ago. Yeah,
Hmm.
and I think with the with your experience, especially with uh, the help that you can give, the encouragement, the support, and the hope that you could give others, and I think also with your background now, you're a certified health and life coach, and you've
Hmm.
worked with the ministry for, if I'm not mistaken, was that 16 years? Is that right?
Yes, I've been working in the ministries of help. So I started off with teaching babies to anywhere to the youth ministry,
Hmm.
um,
Hmm.
in education school, just teaching them the word of God.
Yeah.
And the last time I worked in the ministries of health was with teenagers. And one of my students that came to me, she told me that she was being abused by her boyfriend. And so I sat her down to talk to her, and same thing. She didn't let her parents know what she was going through and dealing with. So I just told her that she needs to let her parents know.
Hmm.
I told her, and I said, and you need to find a way to get out of that situation safely.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I said,
Yeah.
but you need to let somebody know.
Yeah, yeah, that's one of the things I really wanted to dig in with you. I know this is like almost everywhere. There are tons of literature, there are tons of videos, but
Yeah.
I think it would be better if you can at least give us some semblance, like looking back now from like from where you were then. You were 19, you
Mhm.
were young, you had like a naive point of view about relationships and all that. Could you
Mhm.
like give us an idea? Do you like excuse me, do you have like any warning signs that you could tell them that this is going to escalate? Uh, it, I know there are people
Mhm.
that say that like first they would be very very kind to you, things like that. What do you think
Mhm.
would be um, like telltale signs that someone you're with could be potentially, you're like going down the road of something like this, like into
Mhm.
an abyss
Right.
of violence? Yeah.
Well, for me, just start off with my son father. Like I said again, it was nice in the beginning, but then as the relationship progressed, he would start to get real touchy with me. If we're around anybody or any guys, he would let them know that I'm his woman, and he would just
Mhm.
always be up on me. Other signs I felt that he was giving me that he was an abuser was he would grab me by my arm and he would come up. We in high school at this time, and he would tell me that he didn't like what I have on, and I need to change.
I see.
That was another sign for me. And he would be real physical with me.
Physical. Okay.
Yes, I'd be around my friends, and he would just come and grab me, and just tell
Mhm.
me he don't like what I have on. And again, we just boyfriend and girlfriend, and we in high school, and he would just do
Mhm.
that.
So being number one, being very possessive.
Hmm.
Second, starting to get like physical. First, it would be like signs of physical exertion. They would invade your
Right.
space. They would be like um, how do you say that, like a little forceful with their physical touches. And
Yes.
then, how long do you think, do you still remember like how long before it started to escalate into like physical violence, like punching you, kicking you,
Um,
things like that, more or less?
um, maybe I want to say maybe between 6 to 8 months when it
Uh,
really started, because it was right
mhm,
before
mhm,
I got pregnant when he started
mhm.
that.
I see. I see. Well, did you guys live together by any
No,
chance? I'm sorry.
nope,
Ah, okay.
never
Okay.
lived
Okay.
together.
Mhm.
Never lived
Uh-huh. Mhm.
together.
Mhm.
And it's just
Mhm.
times he would call me up when I was pregnant. Like I said, he would call me up. He was working second shift. He was closing a restaurant. He was a manager.
Mhm.
And he would call me at midnight and I'm pregnant. And I would answer the phone in a
Mhm.
sleepy voice because I'm asleep. And he would say that I'm with someone. Who you with?
Mhm.
I'm like, it's midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. What do you mean who I'm with? I'm asleep. And he would say, I'm on my way to your house.
Mhm. Mhm.
I would jump up and get in my car. Don't you know he'd be walking to my house with a knife? So when
God.
I say these signs is just he was just always accusing me of
Paranoid.
cheating.
He was very,
Yeah,
very paranoid. I see. I see.
yes,
Mhm.
always. He was
Mhm.
always
Mhm.
accusing me of
Mhm.
cheating. And I remember him saying to me, if I ever found out that you cheating on me, I would kill you. And I remember this to
So,
this day. And for me, I was
uh,
like, well, I'm not cheating on you, so
mhm.
I didn't.
Mhm.
For me, in my mindset, well, I didn't have nothing to worry about because I'm not cheating
Yeah,
on you.
yeah,
But he
of
was
course,
always
of course.
accusing me that I was. So now that I
Mhm.
think about it, I'm like, well, you up here accusing me that I'm cheating on you when I'm not. But then you telling
Mhm.
me that I'm gonna kill you if I find out that you cheating on me.
Mhm.
It
Mhm.
was a
Mhm.
win-win. I couldn't win either way because you thinking I'm cheating,
Yeah,
and I know I'm
yeah, yeah.
not.
It was
So
all in
yeah,
his head. Yeah, it was all in
well,
his
because
head.
he was out, that's what he was out there doing.
Yeah. Mhm.
So
Mhm.
those are big signs of
So,
yes,
mhm. It was a good thing that you were not living together, because I think it might have escalated a lot earlier. One of the few things that I came across were they were saying, it's basically what you're saying right now. They are usually charming in the beginning, and then they isolate you, and then they start changing their behavior. They start showing these
yep,
signs, the one that you described,
yeah. He would
grabbing
stop me
you,
from
and
seeing my friends,
yeah,
everything.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. And then, when yeah, so we've already gone through the um you getting shot, but how long was that window, like, from you guys meeting and then getting together, you being pregnant and then getting shot, more or less?
uh,
Do you still remember how long that
about
was?
maybe a year. Yeah, probably about a year, couple months.
Hmm.
Because I was
Hmm.
about 17 when we started dating. I had my son. I was 19, so
Oh,
about a
I see.
year. Yeah,
Okay. Okay. Yeah, and I really want to play the
sure.
recording that you have. I'd love to have this picked apart if we can. But just as a heads up, guys, she'll be opening her channel. We're gonna help her out. Please like and
Yeah.
subscribe her video. We'll be helping her out. She did a series of interviews with her ex that shot her, and you'll hear, this is just one of the recordings. And I think the best approach to what we'll do to her channel is have her play, and then at least give us a glimpse on, because I'm a firm believer that we're not victims of our circumstance and all that, but there are certain indications that not everyone's born a monster. There are certain situations that will turn you into one if you're not provided with proper guidance and knowledge. And I think she came across that by speaking to her ex. And I think that'll be a perfect way to find out like what are the signs, how his situation turned him into what he was, what ended up him shooting her and then shooting the next person he had a relationship with. So let me just I'm hoping I can play.
Well, before you play
I'm
it,
hoping,
I did
yeah, yeah.
interview him, and he did give us permission to
Mhm.
play it and say his name. So I have that all on recording. So he said you're fine to play it, and he supports me in every way, and he does feel bad about it. So
Thank
you're
you
good to
very
play
much.
it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
We'll just play it.
How are
Let
you?
me just
Good, and
Okay.
you?
I'm okay. I'm okay. This is the earliest I can get to the phone today.
That's fine. I was waiting for you, so I was
Okay.
making sure I had time set aside for you anyway. So, but I'm glad you made the call. So that's awesome, awesome.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
so I would like to get started because I know we got 15 minutes, and so I do appreciate your time, and so I just want to get
No,
into the next question. Um,
I appreciate you. Did you set everything up like the recorder thing to like edit out the last the goodbyes and all that stuff from last time?
No, you know what? I didn't even do that. I figure that out once I get to that part. So, just the most
Okay.
important thing is just getting the questions down. And so,
Okay.
so take deep breath and clear your mind, because I'm going to take you back into the day of the incident before it happened. And so, I want to ask you about how was your day before the incident happened? What was your day like?
Are we recording right now?
Yes.
Okay. The day before the incident with what, me and you.
Yes.
Uh, well, the day before, I can't actually remember
Well,
what
not
was
the
the day
day before,
before.
but no, the day of. The
The
hours
day
before
of.
it went down. Yes.
Okay, and so you want me to start with the day of and lead up to what happened
Uh.
and everything, right?
Yes, you can.
Well,
Yes.
the day of, I think I was out and about with a couple of my guy friends and everything, and we were out selling drugs on the corner in the hoods and everything, and smoking weed and drinking the normal stuff that we were doing on a daily basis and everything. And I don't know if I was working then, but I know I didn't go to work. I think I did have a job then. I just didn't go to work or everything. And it was just a daily thing. That's what we were doing. Everything. I was probably around the time that you and your friends pulled up. I probably was full of alcohol and weed and everything. And so, am I going okay? Is that what you're
Uh.
asking for, right?
Uh.
That's the part you're
Yes,
asking for?
because I wanna
What
I
wrong?
wanna build the scene and create the scene of what went down before that
Okay.
took place. Because I want to figure out what was your day like to where it ended up like that. Because sometimes people be
So,
going through a lot.
right. Um, well, like I said, I don't remember if I had a job then or I had got fired from it or around that time. That's the part I don't remember. But I
Okay.
do remember I was carrying my gun around and everything, and we was doing a lot of drinking, smoking. I think we either stopped by some women's house that we knew or something like that. Then we went back to the spot where we were stand on the corner and everything. Um, so I can't remember my mind state the whole day, but my mind state when I saw you and your friends pull up in the
Mm.
car.
Well, I guess before that, then. So then,
Uh-huh.
how did you ended up with Al at Erica house?
So me and Al was together all day. I think we were together all day, and I think he wanted to go by her house because they were dating each other. I think he
Mhm.
wanted to go by her house to stop by real quick to see her.
because it was me, him, and like a couple of more guys and everything. So he wanted to go see her and everything real quick to see if she home. I don't know what was going on between them and everything. So everybody's like, okay, we'll go by there. Then
So
next thing you know,
is that when I put up in the car?
Yep, we weren't there that long before you guys pulled up. We weren't there that long. We had do what we was doing all day, hanging out and everything. And like I said, we weren't there that long before you pulled up.
Okay.
And is that what you're asking for?
Yeah. So then, then that's when I put up in the car with two guys. I was in the front seat, and I remember telling the guy, I said, "Well, there go my boyfriend right there," and I said, "You can let me out right here," and he said, "Oh, okay." And then that's when I jumped off the car, and I ran to you, and all I remember was you grabbing me, put me in a headlock, and I believe I remember you saying or asking, "Who was that?" And I told you, "I don't know. I just met him. He's Erica's friend." And then that's when I guess you pulled out the gun and you put it towards my face. And then next thing you know, I barely can hear. I barely could swallow. Voices was getting faint, and to be honest with you, I didn't know what happened. So, is that how you remember? What was you thinking when you saw when you seen me getting out this car? What was going through your head?
Well, first, now me hearing that, I'm like, what the hell was I thinking to myself? You know, like I said, that's absolutely embarrassing just to hear that, hear you say what happened. But I know it has to be said because it's something that happened, and we're supposed to face everything head on and get everything out into the open, you know, to start a healing process about what happened. But at that point, when you guys pulled up, all the things going through my mind was, oh, okay, I'm already in a controlling state. Like, I control the relationship, you know, what I say goes, so she better not cross the line with me. And when you got out, you pulled up with Erica, her friends, and everything. So in my mind state, like, okay, she disrespecting me in front of everybody around me. She's got another guy with her and all this stuff. And the reason I weren't believing anything you were saying because I was out in the streets. I was cheating on you. So that goes with my insecurity about the things that you were doing. You know what I mean? You understand what I'm saying, right?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes.
So when you got out the car, jealousy hit me, anger hit me, control hit me. I felt like, well, I gotta control this situation. I'm going to show her who's the boss of the relationship, who's the man, and everything in front of everybody, especially in front of everybody. So that's when I don't remember the grabbing you part. I do remember me pulling out the gun. I put it to your cheek, and I shot the gun, and it went off. And my mind was blank. I wasn't thinking about anything but proving people not disrespecting me. And I don't know if you recalled or not, but I don't think you saw this part. And again, I apologize 1,000 times over. It's like I said, words can't even explain. And I know you might think they're hollow or something like that, but I do absolutely apologize 1,000 times over. Okay, I'm sorry. Let me, after that happened, I walked around to the guy's side of the car, and I was in the front seat, and I pointed the gun at him, and the gun jammed, and it didn't want to shoot. So I said, okay. So I went back around to where you were, and when I saw you there and I saw you bleed, the feeling I had about trying to all calls prove other myself. Than properly placed attorney calls may be monitored and recorded. Feeling I had about trying to prove myself to people, trying to show everybody who's the boss, and it went away because I saw you bleed and everything, and that's why I immediately threw the gun to one of the guys that was there, and I told them, hurry up, pick you up, and let's drive you to a hospital. And that's when I picked you up, put you in the back seat, and that's when we all drove you to the hospital, and that's where I was arrested there because of what had happened.
Let me just pause it there for a moment. I just wanted to process it a little. I'm sorry. Uh, uh, it still affects you up until this day. I wouldn't be surprised. I hope you're okay. I hope you're okay.
I'm good. You have no idea. Every day I wake up thanking God that I'm still
I know.
alive. You have no idea.
I know. I know. I know. And I just wanted to pause it there. And um, uh, you could hear sincere regret in his voice, and he wasn't even aware anymore at the time. Like as soon as he saw you, from his own words, it was his insecurity that overpowered him. It was his guilt, I believe, from what he said, because he admittedly said that he was cheating on you at the time and things like that. And um earlier you mentioned that when you went there, you already knew, at least in some way, that something was wrong. Your friend was calling you, but you just didn't you just wasn't picking up, right?
Well, it's funny you said that because I think about it now. I think she was trying to warn me not to come with the
I think
guys
so.
because she was blowing up my page. I'm like, I'm on my way. Why is she calling me? And so that's what it
Mm.
was. And so that's why when I asked him that, he said I asked him, how did you end up there? Because I'm trying to put all the puzzles together as to, okay, did she not know they were coming or what was going on? So
Yeah,
like
yeah,
he said,
yeah.
so he said, oh, they just wanted to see her. So she didn't know they were coming, but she knew I was coming with those two guys. So I was trying to figure out, well, if they just friends, see, in my mind, I'm 19. I'm like, well, aren't they friends? Is this
Yeah,
your
yeah,
friend? You
yeah.
tell me, do they know you got a man? Because that's my
Mm.
mindset. So why you calling me, telling me not to come unless you had plans for us to be with them? That's the
Yeah,
only
yeah,
thing I was
yeah.
thinking about. I
Mhm,
was like,
mhm,
she must have had some plans that, I'm only speculating at this point because I don't
mhm,
know.
mhm, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
the
at least
I didn't
that
know.
was. Mhm.
I didn't know that he went to the guy to the car and pointed the gun to. He told me in an interview. But before I moved out here in 2000 to Arizona, I went to the grocery store because we were packing up the U-Haul truck and we was heading out. So I said, well, let me go to the store and get some snacks for the road trip. So I go to the store and I'm just getting food, and this guy approached me and he looked at me. He just staring at me. I'm looking at him like, why is he staring at me? And he goes, do you know who I am? I go, no, I don't. I mean,
This is the reason why I paused it there. I wanted you to tell that story. I'm sorry.
yeah, yes. And so I'm looking at him like, I don't know who you are. I don't know who you are. And so he said, you have a beautiful face. He just kept telling me how beautiful I am. I'm like, this man is crazy. He said, I'm the guy who was in the car with you when you got shot. And I looked at him. I said, wow. I said, are you serious? He said, yeah. And I'm like, you recognize me after this so many years? I'm 19 years old. And I'm
Mhm,
like
mhm.
28 now at the time. And I'm 30. I'm like, wow. And I didn't know who he was. And he said, yeah. He said, I went back to your parents' house to tell your parents what happened. Because I was trying to figure out how people knew that I got
Yeah,
shot.
yeah. What happened? Yeah. Mhm.
And he said he went back to my house and told them what happened. And then that's when they start looking for me at the hospital or whatever. But yeah, I did not recognize this guy. I didn't know who he was, but he recognized me. And I was like, look at God. All these
Mm.
years later, he recognized me in my face. And it was it was crazy. It really was.
I don't think he would forget and how lucky he was at the time. Because
Yes.
when I'm sorry, what's your boyfriend, your ex's
A-
name? I'm sorry, what's his name?
Albert. Albert.
Albert.
Mhm.
Albert already said that he was pointing the gun at him and then it just jammed and he was
Mhm.
so lucky. I don't think that guy who
Mhm.
was driving at the time knew how lucky he was.
Yes.
And that wouldn't, like, I have I don't know anyone that would forget that.
Yeah.
I don't know anyone that will forget that. Yeah. So
Right.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, you're fine. No, you're fine. But yeah, it was mind blowing to me that he could recognize me, and he the one, he told me all of that what happened too. So I was like, wow.
Right. I do
I
remember
don't know.
being in the car because I do remember
I'm sorry. I clicked on it. We'll just go through it. Let's see.
I think Al was yelling at you and was saying, "Man, what the f did you do?" And
Yep.
I heard everything. He was really going off on you. And thinking back at it back now, it's like he didn't even give me a chance to explain myself. He didn't ask me what's going on or anything. I think that's what really was so hurtful to me about the whole situation. And I'm just trying not to get teary eyed because it is hurtful to not to be able to explain yourself to what 30 something years later to explain to you that I never cheated
Yeah.
on you, and all I was getting picked up from a friend and bringing me over to her house, and I didn't even know those guys. I just met them that day. And Erica called me up and asked me, she said, "Hey, if you can find a babysitter and if I can get someone to pick you up, would you come visit?" I said, "Yeah." And that's all it was. And don't you know what, I remember you, not remember you doing that to the guy in the car, but you know how I found out that you did that to him? And I didn't know who he was because, again, I just met him that night. Don't you know, 7 years later, before I moved here to Arizona, I went to Aldi's because I was getting some snacks because we was about to move to Arizona. And a guy approached me. He asked me, do I know who he was? And I told him no. And he looking at me. And he looked at my face. He said, "You are very beautiful." And I'm looking at him like, what's wrong with this man? He said, "I was
That's
the
the
guy
story. Yeah.
who was with you when you got shot." He said, "I was the one who went back to your mom's house and told them what happened." And I just cried in that man's arms at the store
I just want to
because I didn't
skip
know
it
who he
since
was.
we went through
I made a
this.
lot of decisions.
There. I think this is
He said,
where
because I didn't
he.
know who he was. But he remembered me.
This is
And I
something
was
I
like, wow,
want
it's very
people to
powerful. And
hear.
he told me what had happened.
This is from Albert
And
himself.
again, I'm so sorry, Shantelle. I apologize 1,000 times over. 1,000 times over. That
Mm.
should have never happened to you. But it was all because of me and my stupidity, my stupid decisions, my insecurity, and I take full, absolute responsibility for it because I was out there fucking up on you, cheating on you in the streets, pretending to be a man instead of trying to help you raise Trey. All of this happened to you, and it's completely my fault. And I absolutely apologize. I'm sorry, and believe me, I think about it a lot. I absolutely do. I think about it a lot. I made a lot of bad decisions in my life, and to make it even worse, after it happened to you, and when I had got locked up, I was not thinking about you. I was still too concerned about thinking about myself Like, let me get out of here. Let me get out of here. So when I was calling you, you remember me calling you while I was locked up in the county jail and everything, right?
Mhm. Yes.
Like, yeah, don't press charges, don't press charges. I was too concerned about myself. And I think back, I never stopped once. I don't know, recall if I did or not. I never stopped once to ask you, how are you doing after all this? How is all this affecting you after all this?
1 minute remaining.
Do you remember that?
Yes, I do.
When you were at home, I was calling you.
Mhm.
I never stopped once to ask you, how are you doing? It was all about me, 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 me. How am I going to get out? Let me call her so she won't press charges. And that's the childish mind frame I had at the time. So I apologize for that also, because only thing I was thinking about is getting out of prison. And you see what happened. Once I got out of jail, it didn't stop. I kept on doing stupid stuff. And I'm sorry. When would you like me to call you back? I can call you back Friday if you like.
That's
Around
Friday.
this
Yes,
time.
that's fine. Yes, that's fine. Cause I know that
Okay.
call is about to end, and I.
Yeah, we'll just stop it there. There's more of those.
Yeah.
I believe she has a book worth of that. She still won't decide on it, but I think if she would put this on paper, this will be a great way of at least sharing the story, getting the whole situation out, and I think she needs to go. Her grandson is already there.
Yeah, my grandson up from a nap. He like, "What you doing, Nana?" Ashley, this is his
Well,
grandson.
there. Hello, hi. You're on YouTube.
Yeah. Hi.
Well, I don't want to take too much more of your time. We can pick up after another a few weeks or
Sure.
whatnot. Just let me know, and we'll work on your channel. If you have any message, please
Sure.
take the time.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for inviting me, having me, and sharing my story. It's God sent. It's a blessing, and hopefully that this reach millions, millions, and helping other women to make the right decision in their life and think of
Please.
themselves first, and their kids and their self worth. I love you. Love you guys. I'm like teary
Thank
eyed
you.
and
It's okay. It's okay. Well, again, guys, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you very much, Chantel, for
thank you.
giving us the opportunity to share your story.
Yes,
And
thank you.
like I mentioned, she will be opening her own channel.
Yes,
She will be discussing more about this, and I hope we can support her, give her some audience, and hopefully her message gets across. We need to take this out of the shadows. This is one of the few things that I think is, as she described, people react to this differently, or not really differently, but almost always similarly. They're ashamed. They don't want to talk about it. They don't want to reach out until it's too late. And I think it's about time we change that.
right.
This is wrong. This should not be happening, especially to your mother, your sisters, or your children. Um, this needs to stop. And
Yes,
without us putting this out of the shadows, without shedding some light into this, I don't think this will this will gain importance. A lot of people end up dying, like she said. Albert's next partner unfortunately lost her life
yeah,
because of this. As Albert also mentioned, it's a cycle. He was still at the time, he was still in that strange place, in that frame of mind where he was still so consumed about himself. So Chantel will share all of that to us, and hopefully, we get to see each other again. Everyone, have a wonderful and safe rest of your day. Thank you very much. I wanted to open with this, but um, We'll just close with this. This is from Fyodor Dostoevsky. A man who lies to himself and believes in his own lies become unable to recognize the truth, either in himself or in anyone else. And he ends up losing respect for himself and for others. When he has no respect for anyone, he can no longer love, and in order to divert himself, having no love in him, he yields to his impulses, indulges in the lowest forms of pleasure, and behaves in the end like an animal. And it all comes from lying, lying to others and to yourself. And as we always say in this channel, life is about making choices. Have a wonderful and safe rest of your day. Thank you. Good morning, good afternoon, and good night. Stay safe.
Bye. Thanks.
Bye
Thank you.
bye.
Bye bye.